We all remember that gun scene in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, where the three characters at the end are in an intense three-way gun standoff. It's kind of what the real estate market is like right now. Buyers are waiting on an interest rate drop, potential sellers are hanging on to their lowest interest rates, and nobody is making the jump. In this episode of the Soul County Real Estate Podcast, Team Sweasey will try to give you a slight competitive advantage with market knowledge and experience. Yeah, inventory's low, but you have the Slow County Real Estate Podcast on your side. Time to win this fight. Here's your host, James Bueno.
Well, it's a warm day here in San Luis Obispo, and it's time again for another Slow County Real Estate with Mr. Hal Sweasey. Hal, how are you, sir?
I'm great, James. Good to be back.
Good to see you. And Mr. Pete, you are here.
I am excited to be here.
And we're stoked. And Mr. Kingman, how are you?
I'm stoked.
Behind the screen there,
Stoked.
looking at that.
What's the origins of that word?
Stoked?
Yeah, stoked.
Like stoking a fire, probably.
Okay.
Poking a fire,
But how would that apply?
fired up, excited.
Oh, fire. Oh, see?
That's
You're smart.
Fired up.
Ooh,
Okay.
fired up.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes
Stoked.
sense.
Well,
I always thought it was such a weird word.
Now, I just made that up, so you should go to the dictionary.
I think
it made
it's
sense. It would be in the urban dictionary.
yeah, it's a very common sense.
Some people
approach.
Google things, we Hal things.
Yeah.
Hal just give it to Hal. He'll give us,
I'm gonna
he'll give us the real.
The all-knowing.
I'm going to start reaching out to you for everything. Hal.
Yeah, what does that mean? In my mind, here's
I'll
what
go.
it means. Makes zero sense.
You could have said it. That's what we would have believed you. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It made a lot of sense.
As long as Jeff can go through the rest of the day and not be worrying about where that word originated from, and he can be at peace with himself, then we're okay.
So we're missing JT today. So he's off busy doing his thing, and I think we need to get going. We got a lot of information.
Yes.
So it's market update time. Let's get rolling.
For those of us that get our market update videos, you may have heard this or seen this. We always look at like homes for sale. That's a big deal. We had about 10% less than a year ago. And if I go back 2019, we have a third less than we did before COVID. So very low amounts of homes for sale. When we tracked it here at the end of the month, beginning of October, we had 308 homes for sale in the county, basically. We did have a little uptick, though, over last month, which is probably more important than looking back a year. So it's a little bit of an uptick. And 20 homes is not a big deal, right? So that's a few percentage points. Yep. The pending sales are down about 9% from a year ago. Okay, so pretty close, a little less activity. Our closed sales are down 22%, though.
Wow.
So it's lower.
That's
right?
a substantial number, almost a quarter of all.
Yeah, we had 174, which was the same as we had the month before. So it's pretty steady in terms of that volume. And I think that is, anybody pull a calculator out and let's see what 174 times 12 is. So annualized, I'm pretty good at knowing what that means.
Jeff's got that.
And then here's the thing we always watch because we want to see what's happening with inventory. We had 116 new homes come for sale, which is about the same as the month before. But if we have 116 come on the market, but 171 closed, and that's in the MLS. We still have some builders that maybe have a few that are not on the MLS, right? And which makes me think of anecdotally, the builders over here in the Avalanche Ranch, the houses aren't built, but they're sold out.
Sold, yeah.
They're done.
Well,
I'm
they're
doing
almost built to
resales
suit.
right now getting bid up.
Wow.
So our resales, and they might be 6-month-old completions, are going higher than any comps they had and getting multiple offers. So overall, inventory is still record low. We still have 171 homes going away while 116 come on the market. So there's still a shortage, which means next month it's going to be low again.
Yeah.
And we head into the holidays, generally holiday season, lower inventory.
Call it the winter of real estate. November, December, January, February. It's 4 months long. When things, inventory shrinks up. Buyers or sellers aren't coming to the tables frequently. So
yeah.
By the way, 174 times 12 is 2,088.
2,088.
Yeah,
so 2,000 sales. So that's not a hugely low year, but a couple of years ago during COVID when everything was going, it was close to 3,000.
Yeah.
So we're 60% of a record high.
You guys were talking about winter and people hunkering down for the holidays. This is completely anecdotal, but we bought our house in December. 3 years ago now. I think we got it because it was, we were still active and we were desperate to get into a house at that point in time. I mean, is this the kind of when everybody else is zigging, you zag type of thing? If you are and don't walk away, but actually be actively looking during that time?
Here's what we generally find, okay? If you're selling your house during the holidays and you're a traditional home seller and live in your home, you got to be pretty serious.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of people go, I got Thanksgiving, I got Christmas, I got, all the major holidays coming up. And if you're a buyer, they're probably pretty serious. So there are probably fewer homes for sale, but if you're a seller, you're usually not competing. So I'm going to meet with someone today who has a home downtown, and there's probably 5 houses for sale in the whole area that are even close, and one's owned by 2 of them are owned by one person, right? Selling these properties that have been on the market for a high amount of time because they've just set the price unrealistically high. So the point is, there's not much for sale. So coming this November, December, we probably will see continued low inventory. I don't see that changing, which makes it hard for any kind of crash to happen.
Yeah.
Now, near impossible.
Yeah.
We still got the demand. There's so many people that are pent up just waiting for property to hit the market.
Yeah.
And with the inventory decreasing in the winters, and I say the winter of real estate, it's important to know that, what it's 80 at the time of this podcast, it's 82 degrees outside. We didn't really have a summer, so we're going to see summer-like weather, but the holidays are what create that winter-like environment.
It quiets down.
Yeah, in activity. So, but if you put a property on the market, there's going to be less competition.
Yeah, and
on average.
And quite honestly, it's sometimes easier to be a buyer. Interest rates are kind of on a bigger scale. Doesn't matter what happens in San Luis Obispo. We don't affect interest rates. But demand for loans is down. So usually it can be a somewhat easier time to be a buyer because you're usually pretty serious if you're doing that. People get busy in the holiday months. Yeah.
Okay.
What can we learn from this? The market is still fairly resilient. And when I say that, rates are way higher today than they were even a month ago. They've come up a lot. We're well into the 7s, right? And they fluctuate day by day. But, none of us here was thinking a year and a half ago, 12 months, 18 months, we'd be in the 7s. And the possibility of going higher. And I've seen it affect the commercial market, which I'm not an expert in, but we have residential multifamily where you don't get a regular mortgage. There are fewer lenders there. And, when a buyer has to pay higher percentage rates for those loans, and they can now go put money in the bank, like liquid money, and make over 5%, okay, they don't necessarily want to buy a property that pays a 4% return. That part is definitely affected, but I'm seeing just the depth of buyers. My sense is we're heading more towards what we would call a balanced market. So what does that mean? So instead of a week on the market, days might get to a month. Jays, what are those the numbers of months they call it? So
0 to 90 days, within 0 to...
So when the average days on the market 0 to 90,
you're looking at a
seller's
market. 0 to 90.
Yeah.
Seller's market. Anything between 90 and 6 months is a balanced market. Anything over 6 months is considered a buyer's market.
Yeah, and we haven't said buyer's market in quite some time.
I don't remember
who was president back then. Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah, right. Yeah. So a balanced market to me is healthy because someone who works with sellers and I can tell them, hey, if we're just fairly priced, we might get multiple offers and you'll sell, I'm going to know in a week. It might go to be a month or so, which seems like a long time.
Yeah.
But it's nothing in the big scheme of things. So my guess is if rates stay this high or go a little higher, it's going to be a little bit more balanced. So it's not just the sellers calling the shots.
Yeah. Oh, and and that prior to what we saw, the sellers like here's the offer, take it as it comes.
Right.
We're seeing a lot more sellers having to take a look at that home inspection and make the requested improvements. And if they don't, there was a stat that you shared from one of the local title brands that a large percentage of their escrows are canceling.
Yeah.
Because sellers aren't willing to make the repairs, buyers aren't buying the property as is at the price that they offered.
Yep.
And
what's that one word John Turner loves to use? Makes everybody sound like a hero.
Compromise.
Yeah. Well, like the decision you made when we started working together, you had to compromise.
I did.
Compromise your soul coming to work with me.
Absolutely. It was great.
Yeah. So it will be more a situation of compromise for sure.
And and I think that lends to be honest with you, a better transaction where you've got both parties giving a little because both parties are gaining a little. It ends up being a win-win. That's like one of our the company's mottos: win-win or no deal.
Yeah, and quite honestly, as you look at a property owner that's been fortunate enough to own a house for 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 years, they've done really well.
Oh, absolutely. And appreciation.
You're right. So their home is worth way more. So if they have to give back a little bit, a 3 or 4 or 5% less than that was 6 or 12 months ago, if that's the worst thing that happens, they're going to be okay. It's not like everybody's hanging on by tooth and nail with these homes. They have a lot of equity.
40 to 60% appreciation if you've owned it more than 10 years.
Yep.
I mean, if you walk away with 58% as opposed to 60, you're still doing okay.
Yeah, right. It's interesting. I was asking our team, we've got 3 great buyer's agents on the team. We were talking about, hey, where is the sweet spot in the market? There was a newer build, 2019 build, I'm going to use general situations and figures to kind of keep anonymity here, but newer construction when they were building in 2019, and I talked to the sales representative for the builder, because that person worked with me for a little while. And, I go, what were those houses going for? 1,900 square feet, fairly new construction, smaller lots in the sixes, and we were having a hard time selling them. And I think there was probably 100 homes in there. Let's say 13 were the one level. So this is one level.
Okay.
So it comes on the market $1,995,000. I know from firsthand, we had a cash buyer, and there was a tenant living there, and the owners had inherited the property, so you didn't want to wait for the tenant to move out. Buyer's like, sure, we'll take the tenant, everything. Didn't get it. So single level, good condition, $1.2 million right? So what we're seeing is anywhere from like 500 to 1.2, and this is a big spread. That's kind of our sweet spot. And we try to figure out why. Well, one of my agents who's, in the millennial age, which I had to write it down because I don't know what that age range is, 27 to 42.
Okay.
Right? I am the father of two of those people. They're out looking, right? And they're in the house buying age, and they're competing for those houses. And then the baby boomers are as well, which is people 57 to 75. They too want the smaller, clean, kind of low maintenance houses. Mm-hmm. You'll have that, bidding war, and then you'll have other homes that are like staying on the market and maybe not selling as quickly. So it's really interesting what what causes that. And one of the things we came up with, we were talking about affordability a little while ago. Mm-hmm. So when gas prices goes up, what happens to SUV sales?
They plummet.
Right?
$7 a gallon.
Right, today.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I've got an electric car, so I'm feeling pretty good about that part.
I think I might take that.
Why is it somebody who has an electric car always let you know that after you pay the price for the
One good decision I've made. One good decision.
They're saving
That's
the
right.
planet. I'm driving a planet killer.
I wouldn't know about that problem. I have an electric car.
That's right.
I love my organic broccoli.
Yeah, that's right. So SUVs, high gas prices,
Sure.
right? The affordability of gas goes down. You don't buy those things. And what happens to the sale of small cars or gas efficient?
They're going up.
They're going up.
Electric vehicles, right?
Yeah, electric vehicles, small, high mileage, hybrids, whatever you call it, right? So we're seeing the same thing kind of now. And affordability just changes the demand dynamic until those rates shift, okay? And then lastly, I want to give maybe a little hope, and we'll do this on our next podcast, but as I look at this, it's tough. I mean, the affordability is getting near highs we haven't seen since the 1980s, I've seen on a national basis, between the cost of a house versus income.
What you're bringing in.
Plus interest rates. And
affordability index.
And hey, incomes have gone up, prices, people are making a lot of money these days. Price of housing is expensive here. So the great thing about this place is the location. If you can get in the door, you're probably happy you did. And it's not easy right now. We want to give hope to those people, but most people I know, if they bought their house 12, 18 months ago, whatever, do you think they're happy they did?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Almost everybody.
Yeah, 2, 5, 10 years
Even
ago.
so, some houses now sell for less than they did last March at the height of the pandemic sales with 3% mortgages. Even though those people, there's a few people that will probably take a loss, and I've seen it, a couple. But if you just stay in your home, you're happy you got your rate, you're locked in, and you're watching your friends who are not buying paying more in rent this year than last year.
Yep, and it goes up 9.3% every single year if you're in California. Or if you're in San Luis County. I think that's Gov Hutchinson was talking about the rate in which an investor can raise the rents on a tenant in the state, in San Luis County.
How much they can, or how much they've been going up?
How much they can raise the
rent. They can. They're able to, yeah.
It was 8.9%, I think. It was either 8.9 or 8.2. I'm sorry, either 9.2 or 9.8. But it was over 9% that the landlord can raise anybody's rent in California, in the state of California, in San Luis Obispo County.
Right. Okay.
And it's different county to county, but still, when you buy a house, you have a fixed cost.
Yes.
And you mentioned, I don't know if the 80s came up in there somewhere. We were talking about everybody's age, but what were the interest rates in the late 80s? They were in the high teens.
Yep.
And do you think somebody that bought a house in 1988 or 89 with an interest rate of 17% is happy they bought today?
Yeah.
You bet, because they paid $150,000 and their house is worth $1 million today.
Yeah.
Like that's time over task right there.
So if you're trying to get into the market, one, you're in a great location, right? Two, if it's an entry-level house, we know there's demand for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got that. And, quite honestly, if you can find a way to make it happen, it takes guts. But if you look at anybody who bought 1, 2, 3 years ago, they're happy. If you went back somebody about 10 years ago, are they happy?
Yeah.
Right? Do you guys know anybody who's bought a house and then said, gosh, I don't want to be a homeowner. I want to start renting again.
Speculators. People that go in thinking that they're treating real estate as they would pork bellies. I'm going to go in, hang on to it, flip it for a profit. Those are the only people I know that have looked back and gone, ugh, that was a bad move.
Good point. Yeah, I know a guy like that. He's like real gun shy because I go, what happened? Well, in the heyday when everybody was making those cheap loans, he got in with very little money, leveraged very highly, right? Wasn't qualified. You can't even do that anymore.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to get rich quick, don't do it.
Yeah, that's not real estate. Isn't your bag.
Yeah, the way to get rich is to get rich slow.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's a graduated process. Like it seems like nothing's happened. Then all of a sudden, wow, I have a net worth of over $1 million and I'm gaining passive income every single month.
You said something once, Hal, and I put it, I typed it up in big font and I put it in my cubicle at the office, and people make fun of me because they...
Wow, you're quoted.
Yeah, you're quoted. And well, because I was sitting here editing the podcast and I was like, wow, what Hal said there is very important, and I need that as a constant reminder as somebody who likes to buy lottery tickets from time to time. You said successful investing is boring. And that couldn't be any closer to the truth, and that's real estate.
Yeah,
it's boring. I mean, you go home every day, but it's the best investment that you can make. It's because you need a place to live. Why not?
Right.
Live in your investment and let it gain value.
Well, somebody was quoting Warren Buffett, and these are vast generalizations. I don't know, but he was interviewed, and basically he's hit 3 or 4 what they call home runs, he said, in his career. I mean, the richest guy maybe on the whatever, best investor ever, home runs. So most of it was prudent things and then do nothing, right? And just, like success, I've been described like in our business, sales business, repetitious boredom. The only thing I wanted to point out too when we talk about the market a little bit is somebody did this rate lock, how people are rate locked, and a good percentage of people have like 3% or less on their mortgage rates. So every 1% increase in the mortgage rate from what you have, so if I have 3 and rates are at 4, it reduces the people who want to move by 9%. Okay, so let's think that through. Rates bottomed out around 3 or 2.5. We had a year or two of that, or maybe more. Now we're pushing 7, let's call it, but we're well over 7. But even if it's 4 percentage points difference, for every percentage point, 9% fewer people want to do that. So 4 times 9 is 36%, right?
Wow.
So that affects inventory.
Absolutely.
The builders are sold out over here. They can't find land to build, right? So I'm just saying the inventory problem is not going to go away quickly. So if you have the opportunity to own real estate one way or another, usually in the long term, you're going to be happy you did.
Agreed, 110%.
Yeah. So there's our market update for October.
That was amazing. Great job.
Amazing.
You always look at me
boring.
too when you talk about buying. So, and
hey, you're the youngest guy in the room. We get it. It takes him.
I feel great. You should have the oldest guy in the room.
Okay. Well, we'll just leave it at that. Then we'll take a check.
You noticed I showed up for work.
Are you in?
Yes, you did. Oh, yeah.
I showed up for work. I told Hal last night. I said I might take a month or 2 off because I played the lottery last night. It was at $1.2 billion. I was planning on winning. Unfortunately, didn't go my way.
Yeah.
So
I don't think anybody did.
So I showed up.
Nobody won?
Ooh, I'll have another opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm just surprised he was only going to take a month off.
There's a chance.
Well,
$1.2 billion. He's going to come back, but I said he'd still want to work because it's boring.
Doesn't that show you that I enjoy my job?
That does.
I would still work.
Yeah.
Very lightly, but
yeah,
I'd still be.
I said his new schedule. He goes, Hal, I'm willing to come in 10 to 11 when I feel like it. If I win the lottery, that'd be my retirement.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you. Great job. Thank you, Hal. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Jeff. All right, let's get out of here. Talk to everybody next week. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Hal Sweasey podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. It comes out every Monday, so check for it in your feed for the latest information on the San Luis Obispo County market. The Slow County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on halsweasey.com, where you can find current listings and other real estate tips. halsweasey.com, that's HALSWEASEY.com. I am James Bueno, Director of Marketing for the Hal Sweasey Group. If you're looking for anything real estate, give us a call, 805 781-3750.
Hal Sweasey is a licensed California real estate broker. DRE number 01111-911. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is a production of AGM Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.